I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Salty and Ghosty.
We are in Essentials Week, where we find the essential songs from essential bands all over the various genres of metal. Mm-hmm. This is black metal. Is this from the? Is this a request from the? Anyway, this is a black metal group, right?
Yes, I believe so.
This is Sodom.
Yeah.
This is Sodom. They're a black metal group. And the name of the song is...
It's thrash metal. Black... It was...
Black speed metal.
And then it became thrash metal?
Yeah. I mean, I don't... You know.
Not
knows?
sure.
So yeah. So we're on the quest to get our metal credentials. So we have to listen... We have to listen to the essential bands, essential songs, etc., etc. Okay. So this is by the band Sodom. The name of the song is Agent Orange, which is very interesting if it is what I'm thinking it's about, which I cannot imagine it would be anything else. It'd be very interesting to see a black metal band talking about this. Okay.
Ready?
So let's see. Agent Orange. For time and topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. If you want to be angry at the single most infuriating human being on the internet, that would be myself.
Vin comes out with some really interesting takes, though, on political stuff, because he's not swayed by what he should think on a certain thing. He's swayed by the facts and how those facts come together. So I think that some of the stuff that he comes up with is actually really interesting, because so many people are like, I'm a Republican, and so they're dead set on whatever the Republicans say. They're like, yeah! But Vin's not like that. He'll be like, sometimes people are like, you, Trump supporter! And then other times, like, you hate Trump! So it just depends on what the situation is, and one other thing that I like about the way that he does his stuff is that he literally researches the hell out of stuff before he starts talking on it. And there's some stuff that would be like clickbait, man. He could get those views up really, really fast. But he'll be like, no, I'm not. He doesn't want to compromise the integrity of the channel.
We're not a fake news outlet.
Yeah, by just putting out stuff just for views. Like, he does a ton of research before he starts talking on a certain subject. And I think that that's really an honorable thing to do. So I appreciate that. So check out some of those videos. Some of them are pretty interesting.
All right, Agent Orange, let's do it.
Go.
All right, this is not block my goal. Yes, that's exactly what I thought
Okay,
I was talking
I
about.
don't know anything about Agent Orange, but my guess is that we or somebody sprayed a whole area with some sort of a chemical that affected the people for generations.
Well, it's first introduced during Vietnam, although you hear a lot of guys talking about Agent Orange from, what do you call it? Desert Storm 2, Iraq. But if you see there, that's one of the deformities of Agent Orange.
Oh my gosh.
And so what was happening was the Viet Cong were part of the environmental advantage they had was it was a very lush area. You see,
Yeah.
And so what you would do is you would spray Agent Orange to basically kill all of the greenery so that they didn't have cover for operations, right? But obviously it created, you're throwing these chemicals around,
Oh my gosh.
You don't really, I mean, what? None of us knows what this stuff is gonna do. And then a lot of the guys that came back 20 years later, everybody started getting all these sicknesses or whatever, and nobody could tell what it was.
The guys that participated in this?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, the reason that you're spraying Agent Orange is because you intend to go in that area, but you don't want the foliage to act as cover for the VC or the Viet Cong. So you're gonna, dudes are gonna be in there. So yeah, they're ingesting that stuff.
Oh my god.
Same thing happened. Dudes would come back from Iraq. Nobody knew what the problem was. Guys were dying left and right. A lot of guys attributed it to Agent Orange, the government. I don't think the government, particularly in regard to Desert Storm, I don't think the government ever actually officially
said.
Yeah, I mean, when you go over there, you take all these shots and you're like, well, what is, and nobody just go, because it's an assembling line of dudes, and so you get stuck with all this stuff, and nobody really asks any questions. You just,
Jeez.
And then you get on the AC-130. So, it's terrible stuff, and it's chemical warfare. It's a hell of a thing, man.
They have no eyes.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's the legacy of Agent Orange in Vietnam, and I'm sorry it's as graphic as it was, but I mean, that was one of the major issues that we had during Vietnam, is they had a tremendous strategic advantage. These people had lived there their entire lives. They knew every nook and cranny, and so the solution, I mean, there is a lot of real terrible human rights atrocities I mean, it's war, and this is what people don't understand about war, and why I appreciate people like Tulsi Gabbard and things like that, because you were seeing, I forgot who it was. It was a Confederate general. I forget. He said, "War is hell, but we do not need to make it so. War is hell, but we don't need to make it hell." And of course, that's a completely, ridiculous statement. It's as close to hell. War is as close to hell as human beings are going to get this side of hell. It's a horrible reality, and when the goal is to kill as many people as you possibly can with as little amount of expulsion of energy as you can, which I heard one time in a class, then you're gonna end up in situations like this. And you might say, "Oh my God, look at this, is horrible. They're deformed," and it's like the goal was to kill them. Like that's the goal, is to murder these people because we're at war with them.
Not
So
the children, though.
Yeah. Well, again, we didn't know what I mean, obviously this kid was not around during Vietnam. This is it's the same thing with Nagasaki and Hiroshima. You felt the effects of it generations later.
Yeah.
And this is one of my biggest issues with Second Amendment people, when they start talking about guns and gun grabs, and there's no way that we're going to be able to. We have guns because we're supposed to be able to stand up to a tyrannical government. The framers of the Constitution had no idea about Agent Orange, and Agent Orange technically is an arm. It's an arm. It's arms. It's just a different version of arms, and so it's like, oh, should a regular citizen have access to Agent Orange and sarin gas and all the other stuff that we've made? If I've got enough money to have a plane that can transport these chemicals, should I be able to do that? I mean, it is right to bear arms, and this is a strategic advantage that the government has over us. I mean, this just illustrates to me the silliness of the radical Second Amendment people.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. That can't be right. What?
Is it real?
I doubt it's real. I'll tell you in a second.
He's looking because all of a sudden he just saw this thing pop up about Antonio Brown saying the Patriots released him.
There it is. We released him.
Why?
Oh, because of the rape stuff.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That's tough.
Wow. Why would you take him and then release him?
Well, because he
They snatched him up before somebody else did and then discussed it?
well, there was that rape allegation.
Well, yeah, but they knew about that before they took him on.
No, they didn't. He didn't tell them that before they took him on.
I heard about the rape stuff before I heard about the Patriots taking him on.
No, you didn't. You did not.
What? Really?
Yeah, really. You did not. Anyway, let's go back.
Oh, that's so sad.
Because if you heard about it, then you can tell the future, because Belichick and Kraft and nobody else on the planet knew about it.
I thought that was the order, but okay.
Yeah, so...
You know what? They're always coming up with rape allegations for these different people, so I probably got it mixed up with somebody else.
No, there's an entire year, 3, 4, 5 years where nobody had rape allegations. I mean...
Well, you just showed me that other guy that was trying to get a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah. So, I mean, Operation Ranch Hand was what we did.
Oh my God.
Vietnam and whatever. And, you know, people, you know, again, it's like, this is horrible because you can see the ramifications of it, but we nuke people.
No, you're right.
We bombed the hell out of
You're right.
Dresden. Dresden,
You're right.
the 98% of the people killed in the Dresden bombings in Germany were all civilians. It was just a mean-spirited, hard-hearted, screw Germany, and we bombed the hell out of it. And those people, most of them died by being burned alive. That's what happens in bombings. If you're not right there on the impact zone, you're gonna die either by, you know, collapsed structures or burning to death. And so a lot of these guys died under rubble and suffocation and died horrible, horrible ways. That's why, you know, when you're talking about war, you have got to make damn sure that there is literally no other way to solve that problem. Mm-hmm. And especially war post the Industrial Revolution. Mm-hmm. It's just, you know, we've never had a moment in human history where we've had enough capital and enough time to perfect the craft of killing. And you have got to you know, that's why these people, they wanted Trump to bomb Iran and all this, and Trump's like, well, how many people are gonna die? And he changed course, and people are all angry at him. It's like, come on, y'all. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me to do something like that.
We're so disconnected from the suffering of others because, you know, we're here in America, and I don't think, you know, when I go to somebody's wedding that there's a possibility that that wedding could be bombed. You know what I mean? But there are people who have been in that situation, and that is a thought when they're going to get married, you know? And I don't feel like randomly somebody's going to just, you know, do something that's going to possibly kill my kids or drastically injure us, or, you know, like, I feel like tomorrow is going to basically be the same today, except we're going to have another adventure tomorrow with us. You know what I mean? Like, It's not like we don't live our lives in that type of fear. And I just think that, you know, as Americans, you know, people get upset if you cut them off on traffic or you take their spot at the grocery store. That type of injustice they can't handle. But it's like, so you can't handle that, but you have no problem just bombing whole places and sending these things over. We don't even know what these chemicals are going to do and how they're going to... It's just... I just feel like that we're disconnected as a people, and I think that sometimes that we draw lines as nations or places or people groups and start to use those separations as instead of a way to celebrate the difference in all of us, but we draw those lines so that we can dehumanize the other groups so we can do what we want with them without feeling some sort of way that we should feel about it. We can never forget that people are all humans and that we are a part of one giant family. We do have separations and we do have differences, and there are times where, you know, I wouldn't want to be the one that has to go out there and do certain violent actions, but I do think that sometimes that has to be done in a world where there's so much like real evil. But at the same time, like, I think you're right. I think we can't just say, oh, what's the easiest way to get out of this with the least amount of effort? Oh, let's just mow over a whole bunch of civilians because, yikes.
And then we killed 30 pine nut farmers. Those dangerous pine nut farmers in Afghanistan, 19 September. We killed 30 of them.
You know, and we have such a problem with injustice when it happens to us. But what about that? These are just farmers with their families and their nuts and...
Very, very simple people.
But how many of you watching this video were bothered by that? I didn't even know about these pine nut farmers.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's... And that's the thing, is that we are, you know, when you combine, you know, technology with human sinfulness, you get wholesale murder. And we murdered those people.
Yeah.
And there's no... Our president doesn't come on TV and say, yeah, we hit those guys, that was terrible, shouldn't have done it, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing. It just move on. So, you know, like, and this is one of the things where Americans don't understand. You know, after 9/11, it was, oh, they hate us because of freedom. They hate freedom. Yeah, just all those Muslim people, they just hate freedom. Here, you know, it couldn't have anything to do that right before the sheikh said, you may kiss the bride. When he went in to kiss his bride, her mouth was the only thing connected to his hand because the rest of her body had just been disassembled by a bomb.
Is that seriously what happened?
Of course, before the pine nut farmers, we just blew up another wedding. So, you know, it's horrible. This stuff gets done with complete impunity and immunity. There's nothing that can be done as far as, like, nobody can hold us to account. Yikes. We're America. Nobody can do anything to us. You know, like... And then it was like, you know, oh, we're supposed to go to war in Syria because Bashar al-Assad supposedly is using sarin gas against his own people. Well, where do you think, first of all, I'm with Tulsi Gabbard and being very skeptical about the, you'll excuse me, agency, if I'm a little bit skeptical about your opinion as to whether or not that actually happened. Weren't you the same group of people that told us there were WMDs in Iraq, and so we had to go out there and put the screws to Saddam Hussein, also known as destabilizing an entire region? Mm-hmm. Now this drone strike, oh, we meant to go after ISIS. There it is. See, Islamic State hideout. Oh. Yeah. So all you have to do is put ISIS in front of it, and that justifies it for Americans. They go, oh,
yep.
Well, that's fine.
Yep.
It's like, you got guys that train for years and years and years, and you know, I said this in the last fireside. You got guys that train in discriminatory fire and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. Like, you got guys that want to go in there and hunt these guys down and find them. I'm not gonna say that everybody in the military needs to be a pacifist. If I take off my pacifist Christian hat and say, yeah, the guy's in ISIS, he probably needs to die. Send in guys who are trained in discriminatory fire. So if they are hiding out by pine nut people, and you can get a positive ID, you can put a couple rounds in, you know, in certain areas where you're trained to do it, where you've been doing it for literally 8 hours a day. Like, those guys can do, but you know what? It's going to result in in human casualty. You know, American casualties, and
because there are casualties in the way that we're doing. Either way, there's going to be casualties.
Yeah,
but does there have to be so many?
Yeah, and it's like, you know, look, you got to be able to recognize. You know, me personally, to me, it's like, if I, of course, hindsight's always 20/20, but you know, the Vietnam War at some point, and I want to be very, very careful, because we had a guy that was a Vietnam vet one time, and he, you know, we were all in a closed room with him, and he was trying to hype us up about, you know, whatever, and somebody asked him, like, you know, how do you feel about the fact that you're, you know, you fought for no reason? Because, you know, what was the point? And, you know, he said, I didn't fight for no reason. If I said that, then I'll have to say that my friends died for no reason. And so I'm never going to say that. And so we were all kind of in the room looking at each other like, you know, I'm always very, very careful when I talk about Vietnam. But what I would say about Vietnam is that it seemed to me that a lot of it just had to do with American ego. We're not going to let these people out there we're not going to let people out in the woods beat us. It's like, my thing would be, hey, if they have such an environmental advantage because of the foliage, how about we just leave them in their foliage and go home? Because as long as they're in Vietnam hanging out in the foliage, they're not doing anything to America. So as long as people are not screwing with America, how about we just leave them alone? What a concept. This is what Tulsi's talking about.
Yeah.
And, you know, you see how the DNC handled her. It's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, who's really threatening us? Who?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now, to me, a lot of these people, now Vietnam was before my time, and, you know, I'm some punk kid, but to me, it seems like these guys, you know, that especially as Vietnam, it was just American, you know, ego in full relief. But at the same time, you also had Jane Fonda, and so it was this weird thing where we were spraying Agent Orange, and at the same time, we started increasing the ROE for the ground for ground combatants. So guys were dying needlessly. So the war fighters were not able to go out and unleash on people that actually wanted to kill them, while at the same time we were Agent Oranging people and napalm deathing people and all the rest of it. It's just it's the relationship between the military, our government, and the media. The triangulation of those things costs. People have no idea how many lives have been lost due to that triangulation. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The decisions that are getting made with the lives of these people, it's insane. It's absolutely terrible. If people knew, it's worse than you think it is. Believe you me.
Yeah.
So good song. This is a German band. So it's interesting, you know. It's almost like, you know, it took a German band to kind of call us out on our bullshit. But you know, rest in peace to the Afghanis. I said in the fireside, our flag should have been flying at half mast. But you know, if we did that for every time we killed a civilian, you'd never see the flag all the way up at the top ever again. So, I mean, those are the facts. Terrible stuff. And look, I love America. I'm always gonna love America. It's my country. Now, look, I was not born here, and that's one of the reasons why I love America as much as I do. And if you look at human history, you know, you just have to understand where you are in the timeline. And you have to understand that, you know, we are an empire, and as far as empires go, this is what empires do. They go through the world, and they kill with impunity. They steal people's resources. They whatever, and we're no different, and we have to understand that. And it's not as simple as saying we're all evil, but it's also not as simple as saying we're all good. And the justification of the things that we do is sometimes sickening. But there you go, Agent Orange. What do you get the song?
It's a 5 for me.
This is a 5. So I was coming in expecting some black metal, but you know, when I read the thing that you said, you know, where they later became a thrash metal band, I adjusted my expectations like in the first 20 seconds of the song. So I switched from wanting to hear black metal to wanting to hear you know, thrash. And I haven't heard thrash in a very, very long time. And it's funny because on the fireside last night, I was playing a couple, you know, like screwing around and playing, you know, making some thrash riffs and stuff, because thrash riffs are very, very fun to play. I wonder how these songs sound live. That was a question that I had. But, you know, interesting stuff. But yeah, I'm going to give it an 8.7. I thought it was a good song. I very, very, very much enjoyed the message. The message was absolutely important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and rest in peace to every innocent human being that has died under the boot of American imperialism. Long live the USA, though. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.